The Foundation has received and observed a very disturbing account of developments that happened in this past week. We have witnessed a desperate frenzy of activity and panic from the NPA in its attempts to cleanse Advocate Downer by any means necessary, including adopting processes and procedures that should be frowned upon and found wanting by any fair justice system. Members of the media will be aware that way back some 6 months ago, to be exact 21 October 2021, His Excellency President Zuma was at the Pietermaritzburg police station in person to lay very serious criminal charges against the lead prosecutor, Advocate Downer SC, and his accomplices. This related to the leaking of confidential information to a journalist in contravention of the NPA Act, which, as a matter of fact, was admitted under oath in an affidavit by Downer himself. Since then, the NPA has practically been dragging its feet and making all kinds of excuses for lack of progress in investigating Downer and the others for the alleged breaches. Out of the blue, in the last week or so, a frenzy of activities from the state has seen the police taking a statement in Cape Town from Advocate Brettenbach SC, one of the implicated prosecutors, on the 1st of April 2022, and another statement taken on the 7th of April from Karen Moon at the Rosebank police station in Johannesburg. In the middle of all this, and on the 5th of April, a decision was taken by the NPA that it will not prosecute Advocate Downer. In all the confusion, it looks like the left did not know what the right hand was doing, because the said decision was clearly made even before all the statements were taken. Speed kills. Another very disturbing new information is that the investigating officer, as part of his engagement with His Excellency President Zuma on the 8th of April 2022, he innocently reported that it was decreed that the investigations be directed from the offices of the KZN NPA. On the face of it, nothing turns on that, probably because the scene of the crime was in KZN. However, if one takes into account that the KZN office is the exact same office where President Zuma's prosecution is being masterminded. As things stand, the legal team of His Excellency President Zuma is still awaiting the reasons and the certificate confirming this spurious decision, which was only communicated to him through the Zoom meeting on the afternoon of Friday, 8th of April. Around lunchtime on Saturday, only yesterday, the NPA served a supplementary affidavit in a bid to bolster its case in the postponement application by referring to these carefully orchestrated events. So where to from here? Two things. One, the Foundation confirms first and foremost that His Excellency President Zuma, contrary to various speculations, will indeed be at the Pietermaritzburg court tomorrow, 11th of April. He is going to be there. Secondly, His Excellency President Zuma, through his legal team, will be responding to the supplementary affidavit served by the NPA, where they seek to introduce new evidence on the events of the last few days. So what was the announcement? Two things. One, in his response, His Excellency President Zuma will remind the court that he has long anticipated that the NPA would refuse to prosecute one of their own even after his recent retirement. He therefore informed the court in his previous affidavits that he had instructed his legal team to institute private prosecution proceedings against Advocate Downer with immediate effect, subject obviously to all the required administrative protocols and as soon as NPA announces its expected bias decision. The instruction will now be put into operation in the next few days. So you can take it from me that President Zuma has decided that the only way to deal with Downer is through private prosecution. So wheels are being set in motion to see to it that a private prosecution happens. The second announcement, the foundation wishes to announce that the legal team of His Excellency President Zuma has filed for his reconsideration application to the President of the Supreme Court of Appeal in Bloemfontein. The foundation is forever grateful to the efficiency and diligence of the legal team of His Excellency President Zuma, because as you know, that once the ruling is made, you have 30 days to respond. But this very dedicated, resolute team of His Excellency President Zuma has already done all that needed to be done within a short space of time. We conclude by saying all President Zuma is looking for really is his day in court in a fair trial, and certainly not a forum which has got all the hallmarks of being rigged by the state in the manner described above, and all the previous unfair and incorrect decisions which will hopefully be corrected by higher courts. Above all, President Zuma calls on all those who support him to be vigilant, disciplined and patient, and always act within the law. No person should take the law into their own hands, and similarly, there must not be abuse of positional authority. President Zuma will continue to respect the courts irrespective of the treatment meted out to him, like he did when he was incarcerated without trial, like he was denied the right to appeal, like he was denied the right to mitigate sentence, but he still went through the process orderly. In the end, injustice will never triumph over justice. As the Freedom Charter promised, one day all shall be equal before the law. We hold the view that that day has not come yet. President Zuma is treated far from what equality before the law entails. President Zuma is applying for postponement only because at the present moment it is very clear that the conditions for a fair trial are non-existent. When the person who will soon be accused, number one, in prosecution instituted by him, is allowed to prosecute him on behalf of the state. I've never seen such an intractable conflict. The legal team of President Zuma is ready to present his case tomorrow until justice is done. Finally, the foundation wishes President Zuma a very special and happy 80th birthday on Tuesday, the 12th of April, 2022. Thank you very much. That concludes the press briefing from our side. Happy to take questions, and I'm not going to take 5 per time. I'll take one on one. Just introduce yourself. I will respond to each question as it comes. Yes, sir.
My name is Malubi. I work from Newsroom Africa. I just wanted to clarify 2 things you made, which I think they are the crux of this everything, right? The private prosecution route that you're going for. It's not something that's common in South Africa. We've had few cases that have gone on private prosecution, and some of those cases are actually still happening. You trust that process even more than the one that South Africans are quite familiar with. And you also say that you've written to the President of the Supreme Court. What are you saying to exactly? Thank you, sir.
2 things. The foundation holds the view that what is wrong with the justice system is not the system itself, but that the people operating within the system. They tweak and turn things and give all kinds of spurious interpretations of the law. So now when we do this private prosecution, the law is going to give in its proper meaning so that justice is not only done but seen to be done. So things are going to be done properly this time if we do private prosecution, because we're not going to have a situation where we are even struggling to introduce evidence and all of that. Everything will be upon us to put on the table. So we'll put everything that needs to be put on the table and deal with the matter the way it should. So we have we've tried the other route. It's not working. You have a situation where a case is reported on 21 October 2021 and absolutely nothing happens. And then all of a sudden, in 8 days, a frenzy of things happen. Yeah? So clearly, you can see that people, individuals are abusing the system. So we're trying to correct that. That's the first thing. On the second question, with the president of the SCA, I think the issue there is clarity first and foremost, because in the first instance, there are about 4 petitions that have been filed, but we got a standard stock answer of dismissal. It's not clear as to what are the reasons. You know, one would think that if a person has to spend thousands, these days it's millions of rands, taking legal counsel and all of that, the little that you really would expect is that if you've gone wrong with your case, something must be said to give you comfort that you've been given due audience. We're not getting the sense that things have been dealt with one by one, as it was. So we're looking for that granularity and all of that. And we think that in that process, there's scope to vary some of the things if things are looked at one by one. That's really what we're looking for. Okay, Bob.
Firstly, in terms of the trial tomorrow that starts, so are you going to say that, are you saying that the trial itself is not going to begin tomorrow, that you'll be bringing forward this particular aspect of the private prosecution to the court? Is that what you're going to be bringing before the court? And secondly, don't you think that some people may look at it again as being a delay tactic for the former president to appear as being court? What do you respond to?
Okay. Yeah, no, firstly, yes, indeed, we are going to deal with this matter. I can't see how the real trial will start. I really, sitting where I'm sitting, I really can't see with all the cloud and the dust that is here. I mean, if yesterday we had a supplementary affidavit by the NPA responding to some of the things, to the postponement of application, all of that, it's very clear that tomorrow is going to be one of those what lawyers call interlocutory issues or whatever. So it's going to be all those kinds of things tomorrow. I really can't see trial starting in earnest, as it were. On the issue of the famous Stalingrad, we hold the view as a foundation that actually the state is doing Stalingrad. It cannot be that the state is hanging on to one man. The guy is on retirement, is hanging on to one man to prosecute this case. Clearly, there must be so many capable prosecutors here. And we're not hanging on to a man that has got clean record on all counts. It's clean because somebody else says it's clean, but other people, like the foundation, for instance, hold the view that President Zuma's contention that the man's hands are dirty, that contention is correct. I mean, you can go back to spy tapes era and all of that. So there's quite a few things. But importantly, the issue here is that we have a man that is soon to be accused, number one, because private prosecution is going to kick in. How is it possible, really, even if you're not a lawyer, tell me, how is it possible for you to be accused, number one, you know this today, that we are going to be accused, number one, in a few days' time? How could you then be expected to run a trial in a free and fair manner? I mean, you're not a robot, you're a human being. You'll be dealing with a person here that wants you to be accused, number one, on a criminal case that carries a hefty jail term, it's like 15 years. It's a serious issue. How can it be that the system just pretends that a person like that, facing such a calamity, will treat you fairly and all of that? It just doesn't make sense. So one would think that the state would do the right thing and just, if they think that we're doing Stalingrad, it's a simple thing. Remove Downer, put another prosecutor, and see what we do. Because I can guarantee you, you do that, the trial will start yesterday. So the state is actually delaying this case by holding on to a retiree. It's actually an insult to the rest of the prosecutors. I would feel very bad if I was a prosecutor in the NPA, that the state is hanging on to dear life with a man that is on retirement, and yet there are a lot of fresh people out there. Why is the state insulting other prosecutors? Okay, any other question?
Attempts to get the accuser failed. What do you think is at play here? Why do you, there's the condition, what do you think, they felt hard for him to accuse himself?
We can't speak, we don't know we don't want to speculate. All we just see is a miscarriage of justice. All we just see is a manufacturing of a poisoned tree, because out of this outcome, if this thing was to proceed like this, it will be fruits of a poisoned tree. All we're interested in is to ensure that a fair trial is not only done but seen to be done. Is that really too much to ask? We're just asking for a fair trial. We're just asking for conditions to be no cloud under the conditions. That's all we're asking for. And we just don't understand why is it that the state is insisting on doing something that has got all kinds of question marks on it. Why is the state insisting on this? Maybe they should respond to this. Why are they insisting like this? We don't know, and we're not going to speculate their reasons. Yes, Bob.
So what happens then if the court denies request for postponement?
We don't want to preempt what the court will do. It's always good to go there in good faith, and we have no reason to believe that that will be the outcome. But in the event that happens, I'm sure the legal team will apply its mind and do whatever is the right thing to do to achieve justice. But what I can assure you is that the legal team of President Zuma and President Zuma himself are very resolute that they're not going to leave any stone unturned to achieve justice. President Zuma has worked very hard in his life for people of South Africa to get justice. So he's going to make sure that the justice that he fought for, he must benefit from it. So he's going to use all the legal means to ensure that justice is achieved, whatever those legal means mean. But he's going to exploit all of them.
Just a quick one from me, Mr. Mann. How is the former president feeling? I'm sure you interacted. I mean, how is he feeling ahead of tomorrow, and also the decision from the Supreme Court last night? How is he feeling? Is he upbeat?
Yeah, no, look, President Zuma is a very realistic man. He generally is always upbeat about issues and always disappointed, but he knows that it's almost like there's a decision taken to say anything that has got him must not succeed. That is what, but he is not going to say because of that, and then he just throws in the towel. He's going to proceed and give the justice system of this country an opportunity to self-correct and give the justice system of this country an opportunity to do that which people of this country died for. So he's has decided that he'll be a sacrificial lamb to ensure that justice is not only done but is seen to be done. So he's always upbeat, because for him, this is not just him going through this case. He's going through this case on behalf of the people of South Africa, so that they must feel that South Africa that we all wanted is a South Africa that we now have. Right now, the South Africa we have is not the South Africa that people wanted. So President Zuma is dealing with that matter. Are we all done? Okay. All right. If it's all done, okay, let me take this opportunity once more to thank all of you with all this weather. And I'm sure you all wishing President Zuma well in his 80th birthday yourselves. I will convey your well wishes. Thank you very much.
All right, coming out of that briefing by the Jacob Zuma Foundation, the spokesperson there, Mzwanele Manyi, telling us that the former president will be pursuing a private prosecution of the lead prosecutor in his fraud and corruption case, Advocate Billy Downer. You would recall that the former president had basically laid charges against Advocate Billy Downer for allegedly leaking medical records. And subsequent to that, the National Prosecuting Authority, Mzwanele Manyi says, refused to prosecute in this matter, saying that the NPA would not prosecute one of its own. And he's going to pursue now a private prosecution of the lead prosecutor in his fraud and corruption trial. So essentially at this stage, he says that the former president will be in court tomorrow. So, but he will be applying for a postponement of the matter because they believe that the case cannot go ahead with the Advocate Billy Downer at the helm of this case on the part of the state.